This one makes me upset as a former trauma nurse in the military. This one upsets me. In World War I, we're talking 1914, early in the war, the British had a diagnosis of shell shock so that soldiers could receive treatment and proper disability pension. As the war goes on, and the English are caught between like caring for their suffering soldiers or pursuing a victory over the Germans, they decide to ban the word shell shock. General order was issued in 1917 saying shell shock like no longer exists, cannot be used on any medical reports, staffing reports, etc. And later in that year, a man who ran 4 hospitals for the wounded soldiers in the war, he was banned from submitting a paper about shell shock in the wounded soldiers. And the Germans treated shell shock even worse. They punished their soldiers, considered it a character defect, and like gave them electroshock therapy, stuff like that. In 1922, the British government issued the Southborough Report, whose goal was to prevent the diagnosis of shell shock in any future wars and to undermine any more claims for compensation. It suggested the elimination of shell shock from all official nomenclature and insisted that these cases should no more be classified as a battle casualty than sickness or disease is so regarded. And one of the points that is kind of made throughout the book is how important that diagnosis of PTSD or trauma or shell shock, that diagnosis is so important because a physician cannot treat you appropriately without the appropriate diagnosis, but also you cannot get research, you cannot get funding, and so that we've had to fight so hard just to get an acknowledgement and a diagnosis for people with trauma. And what happened in the US, you might wonder? Well, our veterans from World War I came back, they were promised a pension, and it was never delivered. And then All Quiet on the Western Front was written. It was written by a German author. His name is Erich Remarque. I'm not sure if I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but talking about the devastating effects of war on the psyche of a soldier. And guess what? That book was banned in Nazi Germany. And the author goes on to say that Germany treated its war veterans ruthlessly and like as inferior creatures, that something was really wrong with them. But he doesn't quite say how, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but if anyone knows, please chime in. Anyway, it just makes me angry and sad. Let me know what y'all think.